two men are walking the dusty road out of the city. They're friends, followers of Jesus. Or at least, they were followers of Jesus. As they walk, they're talking about the headlines out of Jerusalem, everything that's happened in the city over the last few days. And trying to piece together how everything went wrong so quickly. Tensions in the city had been high, they'd known that. But suddenly, there'd been an angry mob and Jesus was dragged away. Then there was an arrest, a rush of a trial, a near riot, and finally, Jesus was crucified. News spread quickly. Bad news usually does. And the headlines looked pretty hopeless. Headlines always look that way, really. Sometimes I wonder if reading the news might be the very worst way to start the day. The headlines shout about everything that's wrong with the world. And like newsprint, that stuff has a tendency to rub off on us, making us wonder if things may be pretty hopeless after all. And then there are the headlines of our own lives. Times when it seems bad news comes and finds us where we live. The bill in the mail that we know we can't cover. It's the relationship that we've pushed past the breaking point. It's the ultrasound that confirms our worst fears. And it's the call that it's time to say our last goodbyes. These things will never be headlines, but they certainly choke out hope. And these are the kinds of weighty things these friends are discussing. When suddenly they're joined by a third man, someone they're sure they've never met, a stranger. But what's actually strange here is that they do know this man. It's Jesus. But for some reason, they're unable to recognize him. By some supernatural power, they're blind to who he really is. But I think that blindness has something to do with their hearts. When I was 5 or 6, I was afraid of the dark. I mean, just terrified. So I would sleep with a nightlight. My parents, they'd kiss me goodnight, and then they'd turn it on and turn my bedroom light off, and then the hallway light, and it would get pretty dark, but I still had the glow of that nightlight. Except one time, I remember they forgot. They kissed me goodnight, turned off the bedroom light, and then the hallway light, and suddenly, it was as if the darkness was rushing in on me. And I squeezed my eyes shut as tight as I could, and I started screaming at the top of my lungs, just screaming. And within a few seconds, my parents were there, and they were able to calm me down, but I still kept my eyes closed. I was just so afraid of what might be waiting for me in the dark. But my eyes were shut so tight that I couldn't see that my mom and dad had already turned on every single light in the house. Hopelessness can do that too. Sometimes we get so worried about all the dark things we see happening in the world that we shut our eyes so tight and we can't see the moment when the lights come on. Toward the end of the day, these friends finally arrive in Emmaus and they invite their new friend to dinner. And it's this stranger who takes the bread and he blesses it and he breaks it. Something about this feels familiar to those friends. They've shared a meal like this before. And that's the moment when their eyes are opened. That's the moment when they see that it's Jesus. It's the moment when they realize the resurrection has happened. And they also realize that though they couldn't see it, hope had been walking right along with them